Hi there. I'm on the edge of this pasture I often do, but I have just spent a rather unsuccessful couple of hours checking out a new field. And not much to write home about, I'm afraid, but I've come back to here because my car's parked all the way over there. And I'm very close to the electric fence. I'm getting an awful lot of interference, but I had a very deep wispy signal here. I haven't got my thing plugged in, but just trust me when I say that it was a lovely deep signal. I wasn't really expecting anything, let alone what looked, to all intents and purposes, like a lovely Georgian coin, that sort of size. It's an absolutely stonking Roman. I rarely dug up one this size in this condition. There's going to be no problem in telling who it is. I think it's Maximium, because it says Maximium very, very clearly. And then there's a lovely sort of Sol Invictus type looking god on the other side with SF. That is just one of the best Roman coins I think I've ever found. I mean, God, I've said it before 1,000 times. When you least expect it, you find the most incredible things. I've spent 2 or 3 hours digging up cartridges, and then I've just found this. I mean, what a absolute stonking coin. I mean, wow. I've rarely found a coin in that good condition of that size. I mean, it's a beautiful coin. Maximium. Now, I think I'm right in saying that there was something called the Tetrarchy started by Diocletian, and that meant that there were 2 emperors, one ruling the east and one ruling the west, in around about 300 AD. And then when they decided they wanted to pass it on, they passed it on to 2 Caesars below them. In this case, it was Constantine, and I can't remember the name of the other guy, but I think Maximium was Diocletian's co-emperor. Anyhow, I'll look it all up. I'll have it all ready for you by the time this comes out. Hi there, and welcome to headquarters. You may notice that I'm at a different desk. In fact, this is the desk I tend to use when I'm doing these videos for my other channel, just to mix things up a bit. But I'm finding it easier to sit at this one because, as probably most of you know, because I've been whinging about it, I've just come out of some surgery, and I'm in a little bit of pain still when it comes to just generally moving around. But I've got to move around, and I've been told to get myself up and about. So providing I don't do anything too abrupt, I'm okay, and it's doing me good just to do things like this. I don't think I'm going to get outside detecting for a while though. That's the really boring thing. But I've got lots of videos planned for here, including research, cleaning, all sorts of things. And I've even bought myself a new little magnifying glass, smaller than the one next door, and this one's going to be much more manageable if I can work out how to use it. Yeah, here we go. I was seriously excited about this because it was one of those days when I just simply hadn't found anything. In fact, as I think I mentioned in the video, I just thought it's almost exactly, if not the same size as a halfpenny. This one is a George II halfpenny, and I just thought that's what I found. Not going to be anything more interesting than that. It's just one of those days. I'm not going to find anything like that. In fact, it's one of the best Roman coins I have ever found, and it's interesting for 2 or 3 reasons. I am right, it is Maximium. That means it's from an extremely interesting period of Roman history. Now, I'm not going to go into it in too much detail because I'll A, probably get it wrong, and B, it'll take too long. But suffice to say that Maximium was not the successor to Diocletian, he was his co-emperor. To cut a story short, Diocletian came in after what was known as the 3rd century crisis, which speaks for itself. And he was pretty important in actually getting the empire very much back on track. He also started something, as I think I alluded to in the video as well, called the Tetrarchy. And to cut a story short, his idea was that he, and in I think 296, this chap, Maximian, who up until then had been
sort of his lieutenant, as it were, his sort of vice Augustus, he made him his co-emperor. I think in the bigger scheme of it, Diocletian was probably a little bit more important, or saw himself as such. But effectively, he was co-emperor with Diocletian. There were two of them. Diocletian to look after the east and Maximian to look after the west. The idea then being was that underneath each of these two emperors was another, a Caesar. In the case of Maximian, the Caesar underneath him was Constantius, who was the father of Constantine the Great. And I think that the one coming in behind, as it were, Diocletian was Galerius. But again, just to keep it really nice and short, in 306, he said to Maximian, right, it's time for us to step down, and it's time for the next two to come up. This was called the Tetrarchy. Even though I always thought that tet and things like that always remind one of three, it's not. It means four. Good idea or not, it simply didn't last. It was supposed to sort out the succession of emperors. And it did at the beginning, but it didn't last very long. Before you know it, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, it's very complicated. There are civil wars all over the place between Licinius, Maximian's son Maxentius, Constantine the Great, Constantius' son, all start, Severus, Galerius, they all start beating each other up all over the place, which results effectively right at the end in about 310 of Constantine the Great becoming sole emperor of the lot, but basing himself in the east. Now, it's a bloody lovely coin. It's going to clean up really, really nicely. I haven't done anything to it yet because I want to use this in a cleaning video. I'm going to do this week. If I can't get out, I'm going to try and do a few videos which I've been planning, and I think they'll be fun to make, and I think they'll be interesting. The other reason this is a cracking coin is it's a follis, or a nummus, spelled N-U-M-M-U-S. People aren't quite decided on exactly which one is correct, but Diocletian reformed the monetary system, and this was his new coin. This is one of the first of these types to come into existence. It's about 27 millimeters wide, and it weighs about 10 grams, and it would have been about 4% silver. That silver would have been a silvered layer on top of the coin itself. And before you know it, these coins get smaller and smaller and smaller, and by the time we're well into Constantine and House of Constantine era, we're finding all these tiny, tiny little bronze coins. But they would have started life off like this. In fact, you still get them in the reign of Constantine. You get some quite big follisy type coins. But this was probably one of the first of its type. An original Diocletian follis. It's got Maximian on one side and it's got Genius on the other, and it was minted in Trier, and the detail is absolutely fabulous. This coin really, really made my day. I didn't need to find anything else, but I did go on, and it was the most bonkers half an hour, 40 minutes of metal detecting I have ever had. I had find after find just coming up out of nowhere. Having spent about 4 hours prior to that not finding anything. So let's go straight back to the fields and continue. But you might find me saying goodbye, goodbye, goodbye quite a lot in these clips. But then I just move on to 2 meters down on my way back to the car and find something else. Anyway, we'll see you back here a bit later on.
I'm absolutely thrilled. Absolutely thrilled. I came up here 2 days ago with all my kit, all my cameras, speakers, everything. I recorded for about 4 hours and I didn't find anything. So all the footage of live digs and all the rest of it, even though it was a really lovely day, just nothing. I mean, I can't make a film when I find nothing. Today I've been, as I said, looking at a new field, which wasn't very good. I've come back to the same spot as I was the other day, and I found that Roman coin, and now here again a lovely deep signal, and it's a hammered coin, and I'm not sure who it is. It doesn't look particularly silvery. It looks quite coppery. It's got a very orange tinge to it. It's got a shield on it, so I presume it's Elizabeth. Oops. Or maybe Henry. Yes, it is, it's Henry. It's a lovely portrait of Henry looking at you, looking fat and at you. Wow, Henry VIII. In 3 minutes, I found more in 3 minutes than I have in the last 7 hours of metal detecting. It's just so odd the way that it goes. I can't explain it. But I'm not complaining, that's just brilliant. Ah, dear. Two of the loveliest coins I've found, one after the other. There's no explaining this hobby, there really isn't. Anyway, I think I'm going to call...
Quite nice. I don't mind finding these at all. And I do find a few of these up here. I think they're Tudor, Elizabethan spectacle buckles, but they're always in nice condition. And this one's got its remnants of its pin rusted there.
Forgive me for not live digging and stuff. I'm not really supposed to... It's not really supposed to be a filming day, but just here I had another wispy signal and it's another hammered coin. Again, it's been a bit clipped. But it's still rather beautiful. God knows who it is. Looks like a sort of classic portrait. Oh, I think this might be a continental one because of the sort of end of his hair. And a completely bonkers legend on the reverse usually gives it away. That I've got a BADA. That doesn't really mean anything in sort of long cross terms, I don't think. Look at the colour of it though, isn't it beautiful? I can't remember what they're called, the funny hair ones. Oh my word. Well, I'm on my way back to the car. But that's 3 of the best coins I've found in ages, just one after the other. I mean, that's a beauty.
That little period of time that day was very strange. It doesn't often happen, and I know I keep saying it, that you spend literally 4 or 5 hours not finding anything. If I include the day, the last time I was there, more like 7 hours, and suddenly these things just start happening. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It wasn't soil conditions or anything like that. It was probably me just walking over them in the first place. But anyway, these 2 hammered coins, I mean, I found them so quickly, one after the other. I do quite often jump to the conclusion that some of these little coins are sterling imitations. Now, I've done a bit on these before, but I think I might do a proper video on them soon because they are really fascinating coins. They basically do what they say on the tin. In the 13th and 14th centuries, the continent, Germany, France, the Low Countries, places like that, were producing silver coins to look like the English silver coins, which were of extremely good quality and had a very high silver content. Even though the portraits of the rulers, etc., are slightly different, and the legend is very different, that's why sometimes when I can't understand the legend at all, I automatically assume it must be a continental imitation. But even though they are different coins, to the uninitiated and to the sort of average eye, they would have looked the same, and they could be passed on as English silver pennies. They were, to an extent, sort of fairly interchangeable, but the quality was not quite there. And that was the whole point. They were meant to be imitations, semi-counterfeit imitations. So here is one I did find in that field. I can't remember who it is, but if we look closely on it, the crown's a bit different, the portrait's a bit different. The long cross on the back is very similar. That's the sort of point in the pellets, but the legend is absolutely gobbledygook. It will say words to the effect of Count Bertram of Luxembourg on one side probably, and then faintly in keeping with silver coins on the other, but it wouldn't have Civitas, London and things like that on it. So I put it on the detectinghub.co.uk, and the usual suspects, God bless them because they are brilliant, identified this one as an Edward IV penny. So I get my spink out. This will also, I know I'm doing a lot of PR from future videos, but I'm looking forward to doing one on the books I used to research: Roman coins, ancient coins, English coins. Spink is pretty much one of the only ones you really definitely do need. It's got everything you could possibly want in it. It's rubbish for Roman coins and it's not particularly good for Celtic, but anything post that, it's brilliant. Anyway, Edward IV. Edward IV, penny, York. It's a really lovely little coin. It's been fairly clipped, but there's a really good portrait on one side. And actually, in hindsight, you've got the sort of quadrifoily thing in the middle of the cross on the reverse of it. And even though I suspect it's not a given, it's a good way of identifying the later sort of long crossy type coins. And that sort of quatrefoil in the middle. Anyhow, I'm absolutely thrilled with that. But I'm not as thrilled as I am with this one, because I've found very few Henry VIII coins with his portrait on them facing you, with what I call Fat Henry. If you look at the coins, again, I put this on the Detecting Hub, even though I pretty much managed to get there myself. It wasn't very tricky. It's the third coinage of Henry VIII when you do get him looking basically at you, or slightly in the three-quarter profile, like this one. If you look at the coins of the second coinage and the first coinage, first coinage and second coinage, he's a little bit more handsome looking, he's thinner, and he's in profile. And when you get to the third coinage, that's when you get a fuller faced Henry looking at you. This is a lovely coin. It's in really good condition. It's funny. I did notice very early on when I was looking at this, it says third coinage 1544 to 1547, silver progressively debased. I noticed at the time that it looked a bit sort of pink, a bit sort of coppery, not nearly as silver as you like to see these hammered coins, and now we know why. It's hard to see the portrait perfectly on this, but if I get the angle right, it's absolutely beautiful, and you've got him looking grumpy and frowny. I wonder if that's what he liked to be portrayed as looking in his later life. Anyway, it's a really lovely one. As I said, put it on the hub. They got to the nitty gritty of it, and it's just a lovely little coin. And as I said, including that Roman one, three of the best coins I've found in a very long time, just one after the other. Tassie, come here, come on, up. Stay. Tassie's got to be a bit gentle with me at the moment, and believe it or not, sit. He really is. It's funny, isn't it? Dogs just know when you're not quite with it, when you're not quite sort of on song. And when I've been lying in bed feeling sorry for myself, he's just been really sweet. He's just sort of lying there basically with me. My only rule on dogs is they are not allowed in the bed, but anything else goes. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to all that, and we'll go back to the fields because there's a couple more bits to come. And while I've got you, there's no way I can get out and dig for the sort of foreseeable. Do you get down, Tuscles? Good boy. Go on. There's no way I can get out and dig in the foreseeable future. I don't think I risk it. But I will be able to pot around and get out to a degree. And I think, the Deus being a very light metal detector, I think I'm going to be able to swing. But I don't think I'm going to be able to walk long distances or dig. So if there's anyone there, this is slightly cheeky, I know, but if there's anyone out there in the East Anglia area who, for the I won't be able to pay you full wages, but I'll buy you lunch and look after you, and we'll have some fun. Who would like to help me film, carry my stuff, look after the dog? It'd be lovely, because it means I could have him out if I got someone helping me, and dig my holes and be part of Holtzhammer Sagas team for a month or two. That would be just brilliant. A couple of people, I won't say names, have inquired in the past, but I'm just sort of putting it back out there to you, just in case. Anyway, let's go back to the fields, and thank you very much.
Well, I think this is the most bonkers half hour I've ever had. I've just found a Roman coin. It's a lovely little coin. It's a Constantinople commemorative. I can tell it's a commemorative coin because of the way she's facing the embodiment of Constantinople herself or himself. I think it's a girl. They're always facing to the left, and that's not an emperor. You just know. And it's the god of the. It's the chap pushing the prow on the back. And literally a very coppery sound just here, and it's a little Roman nail cleaner. In quite good condition. I've definitely found better ones of these before, but my God, that's just lovely. I don't quite know what's happening. I'm just rushing around because I don't have any time. So what am I missing at the moment in an area which I don't come to very often? I think I'm better off calling it a day and coming back another time and doing it properly rather than whizzing around finding things left, right and centre. I bet when I do come back I don't find anything if I try and do it properly. So odd, this hobby, I can't explain it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I really am out of time, I've got to go home. And I'll see you next time. Wow.